Hi, good morning. I don't really talk about my maintenance of my tanks, what I do, or, you know, anything really, I don't think. So, this is my oldest tank. I think it's about 3 years old. Um, it's not so heavily stocked as it used to be. It has, I would say, 7 fair sized fish in it, and then mostly guppies. Um, you used to have a lot more fish than this, but that was before I got the rainbows, so I haven't added any more guppies to this. Most of the guppies in here are quite old, and I would say within another 6 months to a year there would be none in here anymore. They're all between about 13 months and 2.5 years. I've still got a few quite old female guppies in here. Now my routine really is fairly easy. My first thing, because I have a lot of older guppies in here, and guppies are quite big fish, I do check for dead bodies every morning. I think that's quite important to get dead fish out as soon as you see them. And, you know, you can expect to see dead fish when you keep guppies. Mine do seem to live a lot longer than a lot of people's, but I'd still check. I may lose, now that they're at this age, I may lose one female guppy a month. I may lose one male every 3 months. So I do try to keep on top of that. I have a canister filter for a 120 gallon tank. This is a 65. And I have a sponge filter for a 60 gallon tank. I change the canister filter now about every 6 weeks. I find that's about the sweet spot for how dirty the canister is for this particular tank. I vacuum twice within that time period. This tank really doesn't have a lot of muck at the bottom of the tank. None of the fish allow any of the food to reach the bottom. You know, sometimes I'll vacuum, there's just nothing there. So I vacuum then when I think it needs it, usually twice within the 6 week period. Sometimes I'll just do a little bit here and there if I see it's a little bit messy, just to check, but that's about it really. I'm going to shock most people by saying that I do not own a water testing kit. I've never tested any of my tanks ever in 55 years of owning fish. My fish tell me exactly what's wrong. I find if I think there's a problem, the first thing I look at is the heat of the tank. Certain fish will tell me that there might be something wrong with the heater. Mostly Cory cats, they don't like it if it goes too hot. And so I will check the temperature before I remove any water, because you do not want to have a faulty heater and then start removing water. So if the temperature is fine, I then know that it's best to do a water change. So I'll probably do about 40% water change, and then I will leave the filter running into the almost empty tank or the half empty tank for a couple of hours, so that the water that's left in there can really go through the filter quite a few times, and then I'll slowly fill it up. Usually it takes me quite a while to fill the tanks up. I only like to put a few buckets in per hour, so it can take me 3 or 4 hours sometimes to fill the tank back up. I don't just throw the water in. Especially in this tank, the fish really love me to leave it low, and they like to play in the outflow of the filter for a while. Yes, I've never had a need for a water testing kit. My fish, the snails, and also the plants tell me what's happening in my tank at all times. But I mean, that does take a lot of experience to turn around and do that. Um, so really, that's, I do change the water every 7 to 10 days. Um, Sometimes I let the water go a little bit longer. Sometimes I don't. I do it really just at 7. But if I've just cleaned out the filter, I usually will let it go a few more days, and then I bring it down and down and down. As long as the fish are all acting as they should. The fish that are at the bottom should be at the bottom, the fish that swim in the middle should be in the middle, the fish that swim at the top should be at the top. If you start to see fish that are acting strange and swimming in a different area of the tank, then you really, really have to look at what might be happening. But in the 3 years of having this tank up, everybody's been happy. I've never had any spikes or anywhere that I've lost fish because of bad water quality. I've been able to add new fish with no problems, and I'm really kind of put a lot of it down to keeping plants as well. The plants will tell you the quality of the water and how many minerals and nitrates and whatever is in your tank. Sometimes by the size of their leaves you can tell. So that is basically what I do to this tank. I clean the glass occasionally. I do leave it for the snails. I never do everything on the same day, so I don't clean the glass, clean the gravel and do a filter change all on the same day. I do them all separate days. So, and my filter at the side, my sponge filter, I very rarely clean. I do leave that to its own devices. It has to be really dirty before I clean it. It's really just there for an emergency. It's got a lot of bacteria on it. So that's really this tank.